Great. So let me introduce you to Memfault. We are led and founded by a group of passionate embedded engineers who care really deeply about device reliability. Memfault is here to help you build highly reliable IoT and edge devices at scale. And how we predominantly help businesses is that we help them go to market faster, de-risk their product launches, cut product costs, all while ensuring they're delivering higher quality, higher performing connected devices. So how do we do this? We do this by collecting, processing, and visualizing diagnostic data from all your devices, both in development and in the field, into one centralized platform. This platform is also your hub for managing devices by sending device configurations as well as OTA updates, which all means that Memfault is your one-stop shop for understanding the health of your fleet, getting the information you need to debug devices, and shipping impactful software updates to improve the reliability of our devices. And we work, as I said before, we work with teams across engineering, customer support, and product to all sort of work faster and together. And fear not, we support all platforms from the highly constrained MCU devices to the not as constrained Android and Linux devices as well. We will be running through 3 main use cases today. The first one is top of mind for everyone, prioritization. How do we focus on what matters? You know, too often we work on what's either easy to find or low-hanging fruit, or what those 1 or 2 noisy customers called in about or yelled at your CTO about. But what's actually going on your devices? What's your actual biggest problem? Memfault helps teams understand what's going on across the fleet at both that 10,000-foot view, but also what's happening on a device at a very granular level. And with Memfault, you can identify the worst offending issues that are affecting the most devices or important key metrics, and dig into the details you need to resolve the issue, and then ship a fix. The second use case that we'll be talking about today is streamlining collaborations and building a repeatable process everyone can understand across teams. So Memfault is designed to make it easy to collaborate with others by standardizing device information in an easily accessible format across the fleet and across products. You can share the full context of what's happening on a device in a universal format. Your team and cross-functionals can easily understand across a lot of different architectures. So no more copy-pasting logs and sending over email. We don't want that anymore. And the third use case we'll talk about today is how to measure your results and track important KPIs in Memfault. You can monitor fleet health metrics custom to your device to understand 1, device stability, but 2, maybe even more importantly, if your work is actually even making an impact for your customers. So with all that being said, I will jump into our demo today so that you can get a front row view of what Memfault actually looks like and some of these use cases in action. Great. This is the view you will see when you log in. It's our overview dashboard. I'm going to show you around the tool and introduce a few key concepts before we dive into those use cases. So first here, we have the navigation panel on the left-hand side. Up at the top here, you can see the name of my project today, which is ShapeMate. This is our product ShapeMate that we have launched to the field. You can also see we have a few different product lines. So ShapeMate is our MCU-based product. Linux Hub is our Linux product. SmartSync is another MCU-based product. And we have Smart Fridge and Oven, which are 2 Android devices that we've created. In the dashboard section here, you can access the overview dashboard, which we're on now, and also charts that show fleet aggregations of key metrics and issues that you track. Under fleet, you can inspect specific devices and groups of devices here. Under software, this is really a hub for deep diving into reported software versions and also managing your over-the-air updates. Here's where you can manage incremental updates as well as staged rollouts. Memfault supports targeted releases. You can target a specific group of devices or even a specific device to receive exactly the right software version. This is helpful in critical on-call situations to deliver a hot fix to just those devices that have been affected. Under issues, let me just collapse these so we can keep looking. Under issues, you will see a full list of all of the deduplicated issues that your devices report in, plus all of the rich diagnostic data you need to begin debugging. Alerts allow your team to proactively respond to outliers. We'll be walking through this a little bit more in depth. You can set alerts at both the fleet level to gauge a change across your whole fleet of devices, and also the device level, which is excellent for finding those, those super buggy devices that keep crashing. While we are on the overview page, I'd like to introduce a few common features that you'll see in our UI as we navigate around the product. So first, look out for the question marks that are in the circles. This is the icon for our tooltip, which also often links directly into our documentation. So we've tried to make it really easy for you to sort of understand all the deep data that you are looking at. And oftentimes, especially in the engineering world, we ask, but where is this data from? And so linking directly to our documentation pages to get a better understanding of exactly the definitions you're looking at. Toggling this icon here will allow you to turn on or off our normalization feature. This feature is particularly useful when you are rolling out devices to the fleet. As your fleet size grows, so will the number of the issues that you're getting. And so sometimes it's difficult to tell if there's actually a spike in issues per device or just that natural increase of issues you're going to see as there are more devices reporting in. Normalizing your results will help you see the signal for the noise. And then lastly, when you see this drill down icon on a chart, you can click into a section of the chart and immediately see the list of corresponding devices. So for example, here I have my software versions, and if I click here, you can see that immediately I'm drawn to a list of devices I can click into for further detail that match that software version that I was interested in. Okay, so let's get to those use cases. So the first use case is prioritization. Focus on what matters. This is so important, especially if you are feeling a lot of teams are feeling a reduction in size of their team, or they're being asked to do more with less. And it is very important to understand where best to be focusing your time to maximize the results for your customers. Memfault helps team understand what's going on at both, as I said, this 10,000 foot view and also at this granular level. So let's go to the issues tab to really understand what that means practically. Here you see one way in which Memfault does the hard work for you. All of the error reports your devices send in are deduplicated into one issue. So you can see that this is one issue here. I can see how many times this problem occurred, which is the number of traces, and how many devices have been impacted. This empowers your team to make informed decisions on where you should be prioritizing your time to have the greatest impact. Here, I'm going to look for an issue that's had the greatest impact on, an impact on the greatest number of devices. So I can look at number of impacted devices and sort by that. And if I click in here, I can see that the issue page is actually filled with a lot more diagnostic data I need to debug. So I'm actually going to click on the hard fault because that's one that also pops up a lot of times for folks. And they're always interested in what information we can gather for our hard faults. This is all automatically collected from a remote device in the field. There's no device on the desk that's putting this into the dashboard. I'm not sending someone out to go inspect the device and send the information here. This is automatically collected from devices in the field. Here we have the stack trace along with the exceptions, registers and locals, globals and statics. Let's see if I can scroll along here. A heap analyzer, ISR analysis, and MPU as well. And also sometimes there's a memory viewer. I'm in our demo, sorry, here it is, memory viewer as well. So you can toggle, oftentimes folks do a lot of the debugging based on the logs that they're getting around the time of a crash. You can toggle here and see all of the affiliated logs captured around the time of the crash. If you need to download this information, you can. And the information presented here has a few variations across MCU, Android, and Linux. We have a team of amazing an amazing developer experience team, solution engineers on that team who really think hard working with our customers on what's the best information that's most important to present for each different type of crash, along with information for each platform, MCU, Android, and Linux. Great, so the engineers now have the information they need to fully understand the issue. They are able to make a fix, and we're excited to ship software version 1.2. So under software, you can create an incremental or full release of the payload with the fix to your issue. If this is a serious bug, you may consider a must pass through release. And you can also choose which group of devices you want to target the release to under the cohorts tab, which can be found here. And all you have to do is click go, and you're ready to go there. Next, we're going to move to our smart fridge product line to give you a little bit of the flavor of what information we highlight for our Android offering as well. So the goal here, I'm going to be talking about how we can streamline collaboration and really build an easy to use, repeatable process everyone can understand across multiple different types of products and multiple different types of teams. And the important place that we need to start is speaking the same language. Memfault makes it easy to collaborate with others by sharing the full context of what's happening on a device in a universal format. I want to share with you today a common workflow used by a customer support team and an on-call engineering team. The customer calls in about an issue on the device, and they have gone through basic troubleshooting with customer support, and it does in fact look like something we want to escalate. So I can log in, navigate to fleet devices, and here I can actually search by device serial, which is something that customer support reps often have. So I know that my device serial ends in 001, and actually this is exactly the device right here. So I can click into the device, and it takes me to this timeline view, which you can see here. Often customers talk about a problem that they experienced yesterday afternoon, or maybe a week ago. I was having problems, really helpful for us engineers. But actually what you can have your customer support team do is every time they log a ticket, either in Jira or as part of your escalation process, they can go ahead and say, hey, you know, they had problems yesterday. They are in Pacific time, which I can choose here. And they started saying that they were reporting problems around this time, you know, around 1 o'clock yesterday. I can go ahead and click directly into this timeline, and it gives me a unique URL I can share with anyone on the team or add to a Jira ticket. And now, instead of trying to share a whole bunch of logs or notes either with a coworker or try to share a whole bunch of reported symptoms that the customers may have explained to the customer support team, you can enrich all of that data with the moment in time the device crashed, and your on-call engineering team will be able to understand exactly where to start digging to investigate this issue. Of course, customer support can also add any notes here as well. This timeline view also includes a lot of rich context immediately before you even start looking at logs or any other information. So first of all, I can see the logs that happen here. If I click here, a lot of this information has been hyperlinked, so you can click here and immediately see all of the logs. I can see any reboots that may have happened around the time of the crash. Also, any of those traces of the error reports, what type they are. And again, I can click through exactly to that highly detailed issue page that we've just seen. Down here as well, we have a lot of several metrics that we collect that are concerning the state of battery life, Wi-Fi, and CPU. You also have the option to collect any custom metrics that you're interested in collecting as well that could be helpful for you and your team debugging your hardest core issues. So that was our second use case of speaking a similar language. And really all of this information is presented in a very systematic, similar view that provides a lot of consistency across teams and projects. Next, we're going to move on to measuring your results. So I'm going to move back to my MCU-based product, where we're going to look at tracking important KPIs. Here, I'm going to show you how you can monitor fleet health metrics custom to your device to understand device stability and if your work is making an impact for your customers. So let's go to our metrics dashboard that I spoke about before. In Memfault, you can collect any metric reported from your device and visualize them here either over time or between populations. You can also track occurrences of issues over time. So let's look at battery discharge. Measuring this metric is something that we here at Acme Inc. believe is really important. It's measuring the average battery drop per hour. So this chart reports the mean of the battery percentage deltas of the devices on a daily or weekly basis. And you can see here that we've chosen the type of chart min, max, mean. The chart next to it reports on the same information, but it's by population rather than over time. So we know that we've been experiencing rapid battery drain on our ShapeMate in dev, and since we launched our latest release, so we've been monitoring this closely. So let's compare the battery drain across software versions. So we have our first software version here, and I'm going to compare it to the next release that we shipped. Oh no, let me just refresh the page. This is internet issue on Andy's side. I can't even refresh. But I will just give you the talk track while this is loading so that we can see. So basically I have my first, wow, this is just my whole, I think this is, I'm seeing a bar that I'm experiencing some issues on my sid. What I wanted to show you is that you can clearly see that our what the performance of our 1.0.0 release is, and how it was performing. And I will give you a little highlight here, that it was going pretty well and there was not a lot of variance. The next release that we shipped is 1.1.0, where we actually introduced, and here we go, we actually introduced something that we probably all know too common, which is a bit of a regression. So here you can see in my initial software version, we had a pretty low battery discharge rate, which we've decided as a company within where we want to be operating, and pretty low variance as well. And with our recent update, you can see with our next software version 1.1.0, we've seen this mean spike up and the variance that we're seeing across this range dramatically increase. So I've decided that any device reporting over 13% battery drain an hour is a big no-no and something I want to look into. There are two actions I want to take here: setting up alerts and two, digging into the devices. I've shown you a little bit already around the device search, which you can also look for, any device that's experienced or gone over a certain threshold in the last X number of timeline, which is a good place to start and dig into that timeline, that the timeline page that we were looking at before. The piece that I really want to dig into right now is setting up alerts. So alerts can be made, as I said before, at either the device or the fleet level. I'm going to jump over into another project really quickly where I set up an alert earlier a few days ago that you can see a little bit more what our functionality looks like. So here we have this alert that I've set up, which is battery rapid discharge. And importantly, I have been able to go in and choose exactly, I want to know if there's any, here I've chosen 50, this could be 13 based on the information that I just saw, that are battery percentage delta. I want to know any devices on a specific device that ever drains its battery over a certain percentage in an hour. These are my outliers. These are the bad eggs that I want to dive into a little bit more. Importantly, you also have control over your alert configurations to tune to the correct noise to signal ratio. The alert your on-call engineer receives may need to be an immediate notification that requires them to drop everything. You may also want the alert that your product manager is receiving to feel closer to a daily summary of events. Incident start and end delays allow you to choose the thresholds at which the alert goes off and how long it takes to reset. In alerts, you can also target any email or group of emails. This can mean a distribution list, a group made in Memfault, a Slack channel, or also maybe any other tool that you use that has an email that you can plug into, like PagerDuty, for example. Down here, I can also decide when I'm going to get notified. So again, I may want my on-call engineer to get notified when a new incident starts, and I would click this box. and maybe someone else who just needs that digest to get a scheduled summary of incidents. And you can choose the time at which you want to batch your notifications about alerts. I see that there have been 13 devices impacted in the last 3 days. 12 devices, looking at the wrong one, 12 devices in the last 3 days. When I click in, I can inspect again each individual device to uncover what may be going on. By clicking on the serial number, I am taken on the timeline to the individual, for the individual device in that hour when the alert occurred to begin my investigation. And from here, I can start seeing really some of the trends of what was happening around the event. Maybe there's a crash that's happening that seems like a pattern across these devices, and I can start digging into the data a little bit deeper there. Okay, so we think we found the issue and we ship a new release. Did it work? That age-old question. Well, we can go back to our metrics chart over here, this one I created earlier. And again, I want to know, okay, we had our original software version. We are comparing this to our next software release where we saw that regression. And then today, with our fix, we've been able to release 1.1.1. And easily in a glance, I can see that I have been able to reverse that regression, actually even improve some of the metrics that are coming in. And I think also one of the coolest pieces about this feature that I love is that it tells you how many samples this reflects over how many days. So, you know, I only have 48 samples over 5 days. I might want to keep just like monitoring this and watching over the next few days to really feel confident that that latest software version that I have just released, maybe to 5% of the cohort, maybe more, is actually resolving this issue and is being effective. So that's the last use case I'm going to share with you today. This was a high-level introduction to inspire you to dive into the tool and use it in new ways you have yet to try. And just to remind you, we covered 3 use cases. One, which is prioritization, working on what's important. Memfault gives you the information you need to understand where you need to start digging in if it's based on important KPIs that you are tracking, or just trying to really work on those issues that are impacting the highest number of devices. We also looked at collaboration and speaking the same language. Memfault organizes its data in a very systematic way that is the same across multiple different types of platform architectures, across different products. So if you have the type of team where you jump from product to product, or you span a view of multiple different areas of the business, or even just want to communicate a lot of information simply, Memfault is set up for you to understand exactly where to go to get the information you need and share exactly the view that you're looking at with anyone else in your organization with our deep links. And third, we covered measuring impact. And so really tracking and monitoring those core KPIs. For example, if battery drain or discharge is really important for you, you can easily set that up and measure it across different releases that you have to make sure that you're not introducing regressions, or if you did introduce a regression or you're trying to make improvements, you're seeing those improvements in the field. So that is all that I have for you today. I think we had a few